if this makes sense, but Dean, I was reading the rise of the experience economy, and this information is coming from the BDC, and it states that younger generations are showing a market preference for spending their money on doing things rather than owning things, and it becomes this becomes the experience economy, and I'm thinking, do we see that like as it pertains to younger generation wanting to have access to goods and services as opposed to ownership?
Um, I think they have adopted the that YOLO mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You only live once, and on top of that, they don't like they get bored and they don't like responsibilities. That's what I'm finding. So it's like, hey, I can have that lavish life and then go back to living with mom or dad, right? And it's much easier to get these things where home ownership, you have to go through all the closing costs, the lawyers, land transfer tax, all that stuff, right? And when they hear all that stuff, especially the horror stories, and usually it's their parents, they say, why do I want that?
Mm-hmm.
When you can have an Airbnb that you're paying $3,000, $4,000 a week for, but you're making 100 grand a month, who cares? Let me go splurge. Let me go live my life. I only have one life to live anyways, right? They have no responsibilities. They don't have no real bills. So why not? Just it's the easiest path to get to what they want. So why go out there and be like, hey, if I take the path that my parents take, then I have to become an adult. I don't want to adult or do adulting. I'd rather just live my life the way I have it set up for me. I'm making a boatload of money. I have all these things at my fingertips. You want to rent expensive cars? Before you couldn't rent expensive cars. You had to buy the car. You had to lease the car. You don't have to go through that. Now you have rental companies or private rental companies. Hey, I want to rent this car for a music video, or I want to rent this for a weekend. Then it's right there at their fingertips. Same thing with Airbnb. You don't need all the paperwork and whatnot. It's a click of a button online, and there you go. You have all the things you want. So I definitely can see why they go that route opposed to ownership. It's like, I don't need this. I don't care for material things. I heard a kid say he doesn't care about the money. He just enjoys doing what he does. So it's like, I don't care about all this other stuff. It's more the older generation, and you were like 30 up, that are ones that are concerned about these things. And now with the younger um, market, like less than 20 or younger than 25, it's like, I don't know what I'm going to think or how long I'm going to have this. So let me enjoy it while I have it now, because everybody else waits till they're 40, 50. No, I'm doing it now. I don't want to retire when I'm 65. Let me go enjoy my life now. Things change for them once they start to have a family. They said, let me settle down. That's when you start to see the trend of them to slow down, because they don't have as much energy at that time. It's like, okay, I did all the fun, I did all the cool stuff I wanted to do. It's like there's four things that they say that people want. It's health, wealth, um, relationships, and happiness.
Mm-hmm.
They have their health at the time. They have their wealth. Now it's the relationship and the happiness piece. The happiness they're getting in the moment because they're doing all the things that they wanted to do. It's the moment when they hit relationships, that's when I start to see them slow down and they say, okay, you know what? The fast life is not for me anymore. Let me slow down. I want to have kids. Some of them are living in third world countries that are like paradise, but then they feel so empty after. They're like, yeah, I did everything, but now what do I do? Like, that's the trend I always see with the younger generation. Oh, I had the fancy cars, I had this, I was doing the drinking and partying, and then when it becomes just a repetitive thing, they're like, okay, what do I do now? So I definitely could see that with the younger market.
But do you find it's more or less coming from the parents, or these younger generations being brought up by social platforms?
Most definitely social platforms, not their parents. Funny enough, a lot of these kids are taking care of their parents.
Mm-hmm.
So they're giving their parents the house, be like, hey, I'm retiring you. And their parents are loving it, because I find it's funny because one of the guys that I work with, he texts me one day, and he's about like 10-ish years younger than me. And he's like, yo, my mom texted me, and you know what she said to me? I couldn't even believe it. She said, I'm proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like getting, I can't remember what they call it, but it's just hearing that that's their life accomplishment to hear that from their parents, especially if they're like a high school dropout or something and they make it. So it's like that piece of them. It's like, yo, let me make my parents proud and then do what they couldn't do for themselves. So that's what I kind of see with them when it comes to that.
And it's funny you say that school dropout. I was actually watching something on Jake Paul. As we know, he fought Mike Tyson over the weekend, and they just spoke about his story. And he dropped out of high school. Like his GPA was like a 1.6, he said, and he just said that there was no. The reason why he dropped out was it just wasn't for him. Hence, you turn around. I don't know how old he is, but he's probably in his mid-30s, maybe.
No, he's 27.
27?
28.
27, 28. So early or tail end of his 20s. And I find that him and his brother are genius marketers, right? And the point I'm trying to get is that even if you do drop out of school, or even if you don't go through high school, university to get your bachelor's, the market out here is so big to make money, and that's just off of content. Because if you remember him and his brother, they start off with content. They start off with YouTube.
No, before that, they're on Disney.
Sorry, yeah, sir. They're on Disney. Yes,
yeah.
Disney. Then they went to YouTube, and they were just doing dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Dumb things.
Yeah.
And he just said to himself, you know what? I'm not going back to school.
To that, I wouldn't even say it's dumb stuff. It's what they found exciting. And they said, I can get paid for excitement. So it looks dumb to us, but to them, it's exciting. It's that whole thrill. Oh, let me try this out or whatever. It's like, oh, I jumped off of a 50-foot thing onto a bouncy castle thing.
Yeah.
They find that just to be fun, because even if there wasn't no camera, they would still do it. But now the camera, once you put that camera out and what, I can get $1 million for this? Yo, sign me up, I'm doing this. And they do that all day long. And going back to what you're saying, with the marketing, their marketing geniuses, it's funny enough, I just found out that they're the ones, it was their company that was the main promoter for that. Yeah, so apparently Jake Paul's an advocate for women's boxing, so he helped them increase their pay.
Exactly.
They had the highest women's sports event or even fight ratings. They had 56 million top end viewers, and then the fight overall 60 million streaming. Mind you, Netflix needs to straighten up because everybody's fight was buffered. Everybody had the wheel of death.
Everyone's calling it.
Oh, for sure. Like, yeah, everybody, there's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there, and I'm going with them on it because the way Mike was training versus the way he was fighting, it's day and night. Like, Mike looked like he was out of wind, and it's like, bro, you've been training so hard. How are you winded? Like, you barely did anything in the ring, but teach his own,
No, but I believe in that because I think if you tap into the contractual agreement that they had, apparently Mike couldn't knock him out.
Yeah, that's what they put. He couldn't knock him out before like the first round or something,
exactly.
or else then he gets nothing.
Yeah.
If it goes only less than 7, then he only gets half.
Yeah.
So he's like, yo, I want my full bread. If I'm gonna be 8 minutes in the ring, might as well go the distance and just get my. He's like, who cares if I lost? This is not on my record for.
No, it is actually.
No, but I mean in
Texas.
terms. Well, I mean in terms of like.
Record? You're talking about?
Well, his professional record when he was in his prime. This is you're a senior citizen now.
I see what you're saying. Okay, I see what you're saying.
You're a senior citizen. You're making 40 mil. Like, come on. If someone paid me, well, I'm not a senior citizen, but me coming out of retirement to fight with a kid, and he's gonna pay me 40 million. Why not?
Yeah.
I don't care at that point. I don't care about my professional career. You say whatever you want to me. It's about my bread now, and he has his kids and his grandkids.
Yes,
so
exactly.
he passes it off jumping into something else like Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones left $500 million for his family, and now look, that disperses. So it's like, hey, if I'm at that age, why not just make as much bread as I can, and then just disperse it amongst my family?
But it's funny that you say that because a topic that came from the whole Quincy Jones thing was, would you just give your children the money up front, or would you put the money in other avenues to help further your name when it comes to legacy?
Well, if you mention it like that, that's kind of hard. It's more so it depends on the person. Yeah, I would love to see. Mike and think it's funny that you bring up legacy, but with the legacy piece, me personally, yeah, I would love to see not just my name, but the family name live on for years upon years, right? But funny enough, Mike had a interview with that girl. I can't remember her name. That little girl, she interviews everybody.
Yes. Yeah, I can't remember.
And she's like, yeah, you're a legend. He's like, what is a legend? He's like, forget all that legend stuff. He's like, that's like a buzzword that everyone's using. He's like, screw that. Like, we're all going to die anyways. So it's funny that you brought that up. But how I set it up for my kids is I'm not giving you everything. Because right now, yeah, you guys are great. But when you start to develop your character, I don't know how you're going to turn out. So I want to make sure things are in place, that you're not trying to do something stupid where it's like you got all this money and then a couple of years later you're broke. It's like, no, I'm going to set you up in a way where you only get a specific amount at a specific time. And as people pass in the family, that goes right back into the trust. And you can only take out a specific amount from that. To take it a step further, educate them, but say, listen, if you don't want to use the banks, you can use this trust fund, but you have to pay back the trust fund with interest. Because at the end of the day, this is how you build generational wealth or real generational wealth. Yep. I'm thinking 100 years down the line. Apparently, that's how the Japanese think. They plan 100 years. I'm not seeing 100 years. If I see 100, I don't even, there's not any wood, but knock on wood. If I get live to see that long, that's a blessing. And then I could literally tell you guys, like, this is the way the next 100 years is supposed to go. Most definitely.
But you mentioned trust. And I don't think a lot of people understand how it is important to try to build a trust fund when you are in a situation, especially when you're giving away things, as opposed to just giving a hard asset to your family members or even your kids. But building a trust fund is really, really important, and help us understand why.
So just a disclaimer, this is for educational purposes only. So whatever we say here, take it with a grain of salt, but reach out to somebody that's a professional. But my take on it is, I have a tax or accounting background, and it's more so to protect you with taxes, but also legal issues as well. So when I pass, they don't have to go through all the court nonsense and whatnot to get the money or pay the government any taxes. Because the moment you pass, whatever assets you have, you got to pay taxes on that. Plus, you got to pay some other fees when you pass in order to get access to money. So if you have property, you have to pay a probate tax. A probate tax is to look up the records to make sure that you own a home and there's nothing owing on it, which to me is mind-blowing. And the amount of money that you pay for it is in conjunction with where the house is located. So you can be paying more or less depending on the area you're in. So to me, it's like, those things are stupid. The government's just trying to get a piece of the pie when I pass. You guys are already getting my taxes, my last taxes that I have to file. I have to file taxes when I'm dead. How do you file taxes when you're dead? What if my family doesn't like me and doesn't want to file the taxes? Then what? So it's like, it's mind-blowing. It's like, it should be that last year, up to that last year you filed. Why am I filing the date? If I just filed just to say I passed, sure. But if I had whatever money, I still got to pay you guys? Like, you guys are some real crooks there. Like, that makes no sense to me. But having that trust, like, you can put your own set of rules and not have to answer to anybody. You just make sure you have a lawyer to enforce it, and then you're good to go. A lawyer, or even the banks, but I'm not too fond of banks, but the lawyer is your best bet when it comes to setting up your trust fund and making sure everything is in place, like doing it before, having a trust fund when you're alive and then also when you pass. So that if you become incapable of making decisions, you already have those instructions there.
Yeah, like a lot of people, and again, I'm gonna step back a few steps. When it comes to situations or people getting to the bag and making these decisions, especially having a sound team, I always try to tell people, you just don't wake up doing this. You just don't wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm gonna get to the bag. It takes time. It takes time. It takes planning. It takes sacrifice. And even with the whole Jake Paul story, him advocating for women boxing, I heard of it, but I didn't know he was such a strong advocate for boxing, because he is opening up many, many, many doors. Because I think he manages a fighter as well.
Well, he owns a promotion company,
Yeah,
so I wouldn't
he
think.
manages a fighter. I just can't remember her name, but again, he advocates for women fighting, and he's not even a professional boxer. That's just the crazy thing about it. I think
It's publicity, man.
And how I see he's such a marketing genius is how he picks his fights and how he stipulates the contract
Yep.
It's crazy because you're not a professional fighter, but you're getting all these big key fights, and it just tells you that boxing, from a standpoint of where it's at now, it's not great.
I've been saying this for quite some days now. Boxing adopted the WWE formula, make it a soap opera.
Yeah.
And that's how Vince McMahon really made his billions.
Mm-hmm.
He's a self made billionaire. And I applaud him for that because he's seen something. It's like, as I was driving, I was like, why do people watch this stuff? And it's entertaining. Like, they like to get into stuff. Like, I was talking to my niece and I was asking, I was like, if I was to make a show about money, what would you want to know? And she's like, I wouldn't watch it. And I was like, why? She's like, I'm into true crimes. I was like, true crimes. And it's like understanding her thought process because those things excite you because it's not predictable. It's like, okay, why did the person do this? And it's like, oh my goodness, like this is what happened. But when it comes to money, it's just such a dead topic. It's like, who cares? I don't want to talk about it. But money's the thing that's a part of your life. This true crime stuff is not a part of your life, but people just keep buying into this stuff. And it's always the negative stuff that people gravitate towards. Oh, let me go see what this is because like thinking about it, hearing my kids say, "Oh, they're watching Hell's Kitchen." If you called it Heaven's Kitchen, nobody's watching it. Hell's Kitchen is because it's that negative connotation, like hell, the devil,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. Like that's what people buy into. So if you're not around that stuff, nobody's watching it. Like if Jake Paul didn't come out making fun of Mike Tyson, you think anybody would watch? No, because it wasn't entertaining. It was like, okay, why am I watching this? It's an old guy versus a young guy. No, Jake Paul said, I'm gonna be the villain. I'm gonna just really get under his skin. Like even that when he boxed him, he's like, that didn't hurt. That was probably a planted box. Yo, Mike, when you come out, just hit me.
Yeah.
So Mike's like, oh, you sure? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah.
And then hit him. And it's like, why did Mike hit him? It's like there was no reason for Mike hitting him.
Apparently, he stepped on his toe, but again,
How?
it's
He was
outlined.
getting up. He was getting on the stage.
It was planned.
So it was like,
It
okay.
was planned. If you're looking at it, if you keep looking at it from different angles, it was so planned. No one reacted. So basically, everyone reacted late.
Yeah. It's
No one
it's all
reacted to it.
staged.
But again, like I said, marketing geniuses that they are.
It's
they
WWE,
know,
man.
They know how to, I guess, corner the market and ensure that because it's entertainment. That's what it is. People see that leading up to the fight. Now I really gotta subscribe to Netflix because this is gonna be of Art of War. And everybody looked at the fight. The fight was dog shit.
But there's no such thing as bad publicity because now everybody's gonna be talking about Netflix, and they're gonna be talking about for the next week. So what I think, or what I was predicting on my personal channel, is Netflix. The stock is gonna take a short dip because of the buffering issues.
Yeah.
But it's because the market, and when I say market, I mean like the people are gonna be upset. Whatever, it's gonna drop a bit, but then it's gonna shoot right through the roof after. Because when they report all this and all the new subscribers, and now they have this component in their wheelhouse, their stock's gonna go through the roof in the next 12 months or whatever.
It's a learned environment. Again, this was their first, I guess, streaming televised gig. And
No. They did before. They did comedy.
Oh yes, yeah. Sorry. So I guess from a sports perspective, because I don't know if they've done sporting before.
They did something. I can't remember if it was sports, but this could be their first.
Because at the end of the day, now you had all these streaming issues. Again, it's a learned thing now. So as they put on another event, because they have other events lined up.
Yeah, apparently they want to bring football there.
Yeah, they want to bring football and they want to do some other stuff. The quicker they learn how to kind of mask this, or not mask it, but remedy the situation, because it can happen again.
Oh, it's an easy thing for them. They have enough money. They're just gonna dump into it, make faster servers, and then they're well on their way.
And they're well on their way.
It's what else can we do? And I know they were talking about doing, or they have little things on the platform now where you can play games, and there's interactive games that kids can play. So Netflix, I think they're just on the how do you say it?
Trajectory?
Yeah, not trajectory, but they're unlocking way more. They have way more to unlock. Like this is just the beginning of what they come up with, as I can see it.
Yeah, and just to do a quick segue, because I was also reading about mental health, and mental health being such a it's something that I think is often overlooked because it's mental health, and I think when you talk about mental health, you have you have to speak about it because mental health impacts so many things in your life, especially when it comes to money and how you spend. And I just don't think mental health is talked about enough because it is mental health. And I just want to get your thoughts because we've spoken about it many, many times about mental health having an impact on how you spend and how you even view how to spend. And I think that when people get caught up in certain things, they don't realize that it's part of their mental health, whether it be good or bad.
So it's not really a segue, but with the mental health thing, Netflix is like a coping mechanism. And I'm going to talk about it's the time that they spend. Because now it's like if I'm in a funk, I'm going to sit on the couch and binge watch TV. And I've been there twice, before Netflix and during Netflix. Before the Netflix era, it was the Android box. When I first lost my job, or I wouldn't say lost it, they, what's the term? They,
Restructured?
yeah, not restructured. They just got rid of my whole department. So they laid me off. There we go. They, I literally was at home and I sat on my couch maybe for like a week straight, just watching Scandal. Like I was such in a funk, but because it was accessible, I said, I'm not gonna go look for a next job. I'm not gonna do nothing. I just sat on the couch and think. And these things become new coping mechanisms for people, right? It's like, if I don't have the money, what else can I do? I can waste my time. So if it's not your money you're wasting, it's your time that you're wasting. You can buy these little things here, there. Amazon's deadly for it too because now you have the one-click buy. You can do buy now, pay later. Yeah. These are all dangerous things. So if somebody's just at home and they're in a funk, it's like, okay, let me go shop. Let me go make myself feel better. You have so many things at your convenience. You have Uber Eats. I don't have to leave my house now. Let me just go order at McDonald's and just watch my TV show. So these things are in place. It's like when you're in that space, these guys are capitalizing. And one thing you have to understand about these businesses, they don't have feelings. They don't care. So if you're not doing well, they don't care. They'll say, yeah, we advocate for this, that, but they're only doing their part just for the views, right? Or just to say that they're doing something. But they're really not doing nothing. Like apparently they're saying now iPhones can cause testicular cancer, however you say that, because it's so close to your thing and the radiation. Yeah. But most people don't notice that. It's over time that these things happen. I was watching something where this guy said, the little changes or the things that you do now has a big impact later. And most people don't even realize that. So if you develop a new skill to make more money, you won't see the money now, but over the long term, you will make a lot of money from it. And when he said that, I immediately thought of the food that we eat, the lack of exercise that we do. And these things have a long-term effect on you. It's small in the grand scheme of things when, like at that moment, it's small in the moment, but the grand scheme of things, it's actually a huge impact. And when he said that, it made me think of Super Size Me at an accelerated rate. He ate McDonald's for 30 days or something like that? 30 days, yeah. And he put on however many pounds. But imagine somebody that eats McDonald's like that consistently for like 5-10 years. That has a long-term effect on you, especially on the way your brain functions. Like if you don't really think of what you're eating or consuming, it's like it has a long-term effect on you. Like if you're eating something that has like 0.001% of something that can, let's say, kill your brain cells, you think of that as nothing now. But if you keep doing that on a daily basis, it adds up over time. It's a compound effect. So compound interest works in so many different ways, but we're always thinking compound interest is just for money. It's no, what is it that you're doing? Like if you're not doing daily exercise, you're literally depleting your body from being able to live a healthy life when you get older. They say the body starts to deteriorate at age 40. Most people don't even do anything until it's too late. And it's like, no, you got to start doing those things now because it will have a long-term effect on you. You want to avoid different types of diseases or viruses. You got to do those things now, like take your vitamin D, your vitamin B. People don't start taking that till it's too late. Or it's like, yeah, I should have did it when I had the chance. You should have, could have, would have. So why aren't you doing it now? Or why aren't you telling somebody that's younger than you, hey, Start taking these things, because if you don't take care of your body now, you're going to be living off pills and needles.
And what runs so prevalent, especially in black men, is diabetes.
Yep. Yep.
You know, it's so funny. Well, not funny, but myself and another friend, we were just speaking about that diabetes and taking care of your body and ensuring that you're going to the doctor. It's just a situation in which we don't talk about it as men enough to even say, hey, you know what, let's be comfortable in our skin and talk about our health, because when
Yep.
we don't talk about it, by the time you look, you're diabetic,
Yep.
type 1, type 2, or it's cancer.
Hmm.
So all these things, and even that has a huge impact on your mental health, because now you're thinking, am I going to die?
Yeah.
Or am I going to take pills for the rest of my life? And or am I going to have to inject myself
Hmm.
for a period of time? And then that has a trickle down effect to
Hmm.
how you view things and how you even spend your money now,
Yep.
right? So these things are really important, and it just needs to. We just need to open up more dialogue when it comes to mental health, because there's a lot of impacts towards it, and especially with your spending. I know, like you mentioned, you know, you being restructured and you sitting down binge watching, and that's something that you could have done to put more time into something else. And again, we can even go back to COVID.
Hmm.
Like, COVID was a situation in which that we were locked down. We were not doing anything. However, Amazon was still open. Walmarts were still open. There were a lot of things that were still open that took advantage of how our mental capacity was at the time, that, you know, we end up spending unnecessarily. And the reason why I bring that up is because when you think about COVID and you think about the landscape, you would say, you know, how has that changed the way we work?
Hmm.
You know, and I could say for both of us, myself and Dean, when COVID happened, it came at a time, and I may sound insensitive when saying this, but it came at a perfect time for us because it allowed us to build our company. And again, I don't want to be insensitive because COVID killed millions of people. However, I'm just saying it in a sense in which that it put us to work. And I think when it happened, we just had a different type of mindset. While people were maybe in a situation in which that, what I'm going to do, I've lost my business, I'm home, um, I'm spending more than I need to, and I don't need to spend, but I need to make sure that I feel alive. Like, these are the things that we're talking about, and like I said, for ourselves, we use that time to, shameless plug, to write this book. You know, Checks Over Strikes presents "Don't Be a Waste Youth Financial Literacy Guide," and this is where we kind of used our time, because we knew we had a vision and we had a goal, and we used that time to help us start our business. And 4 years later, we're still in the business. So the reason why I asked that question, because I know there's been different impacts on how people went through COVID and how they actually worked out of it or worked themselves out of it, meaning that you're losing their business or um, not being able to create as much because they didn't have the know-how or the mental health at the time to do what they need to do.
COVID was one of those things that happened. It's almost like the world needed to humble itself.
Yeah.
And I heard somebody say, like, the earth the earth is like the vessel, and us being on it were the viruses. And the earth was getting sick. So it's like there's too many people on this earth. We need to think to maintain this virus. I know it sounds weird, but if you go look, there's something on YouTube. I can't remember where I heard it, but when the person said it, I was like, damn, that's crazy. Like, where are the viruses of this? Because when you really look at it, we're just continuously polluting the earth. And you have the billionaires, what are they doing? Building rocket ships to go to Mars. Why? Because they're probably seeing something that we don't see. And they're probably forward thinking. It's like, who knows how long this earth's gonna last? What if natural disaster starts happening like crazy now?
Yep.
COVID could be man-made, it could be thing, we don't know, right?
Yep.
But with that being said, it was almost like the world needed to humble itself. Like, everybody was on this high horse, like nothing can happen, nothing can go wrong. I'm making a bag of money, like nothing, right? And then COVID hits and you're like, oh, I didn't prepare for this. Like, going back to the 2008 housing market crash for the States. They're in a bubble. It's like, yo, buy a house, buy real estate. And then boom, it crashed, right? Because the place needed to humble itself. Everybody was making money thinking that nothing could ever go wrong.
Yeah.
You had the Y2K bubble. All these companies popped up. Yahoo was booming. And then boom, it busts, right? So it's like every so often, there's something that's just going crazy, but it needs to come back down and be like, yo, you guys need to be humbled. Like, you're doing too much. Like, not saying that somebody's out there doing that, but it's just, that's the cycle.
Yep.
It always happens. Whatever you want to put it in, everything has a cycle. Canada's having, or I would say more so Toronto. Well, let's just say Canada. They're having somewhat of a real estate bubble because last couple of months it was doing bad, but now it's picking up because interest rates have dropped. But it's like people need to be humbled, and they do it on a grand scale of things. I don't know who's behind it, but that's just my conspiracy theory behind that.
Yeah, and again, like I said, COVID happened at a time that, like I said, it worked out differently for, unique situations. But I thought at that point when we were, talking about the book and how we were going to start it, when COVID hit, we thought that, man, this couldn't come at the worst time. But again, we pivoted, and because our mindset looked at the situation as a positive as opposed to a negative. This is what came out of it. And again, when we started, we couldn't stop. We were like, okay, this is what we're doing, and this is how we're going to get there. And Dean and I, we speak every week or every day, and we talked about how we were going to get things on and popping because, again, we couldn't afford to sit back. It was just a situation in which that we had to pivot and come up and be creative with something that could help change the world. And we know it could change the world, change our community. Because we know financial literacy we just didn't talk about it enough, especially in my household. It wasn't talked about. So this is the reason why we want to have ongoing conversations, not issues, about what financial literacy can do for yourself and do for your family. And let's not be behind the eight ball, because that's what I often hear, behind the eight ball, while other groups are in front of the eight ball. So let's try to get in front of it and do something about what we're trying to learn or change the narrative.
So while I'm looking for something, somebody posted Mike. You remember that dance that Mike was doing? Yo, I think he was listening to like one of those 80s songs and he's just grooving, dancing, and like the moment you notice you're gonna make 20 million.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, just look at the analytics of the fight. He threw 69 punches in 8 rounds. That's unheard of.
Yeah, I think it was the first and second round he threw a lot, and then Jake Paul all of a sudden started to throw a lot, and I was like, okay. I'm trying to find something. Oh, where is it?
Like I said,
Oh, there it goes.
You can't get upset. It is what it is.
But we have a segment that we want to introduce, and we're going to also be posting this on our Instagram. So if you're not following us on Instagram, it's Checks Over Strikes. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date and help us grow our channel. Our goal right now, or our first milestone, and we need your help, we're trying to go live. And in order to go live, we need at least 50 subscribers. So right now, it's only episode 2, but we're going to be here every week doing this until we reach the masses. That's our goal. We're trying to get into everybody's household and change your situation. So your current situation isn't your final destination, and we're here to provide that value to you. So we got a new segment that's coming up, and we'd love to get users' feedback. So Craig and myself are going to start this off. So Craig, give me some money rules. Give me some money rules that you heard growing up that annoyed you the most.
Money rules.
Mark, you're more than welcome to join. So we got our camera guy behind Mark.
I don't know if it was more or less a money rule. It was a statement that I often heard from my mom. Was, I don't have it.
Oh, all the time. Or you know what the funny one is? Mom, can we get McDonald's? You have McDonald's money?
Yeah, exactly. So that triggering, because it's like you ask for something and it was never broken down as to why you're not getting it. It was just you're not getting it.
Yep.
And again, these are the conversations that we need to have with our children. It's all right to say no. Explain to your child as to why you're saying no.
Yeah.
Or why you're not getting it. Because I just heard you're not getting it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, am I not getting it because we don't have no money? Am I not getting it because I shouldn't be hungry? Am I not getting it because of X, Y, and Z? You just never knew.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Money don't grow on trees.
Yep.
Another statement, yeah.
Money don't. So it's like, where does it come from then? But you never told us where. So it's like, what am I supposed to expect?
Exactly.
Yep. What are some other ones? Or whenever I broke something, it was always coming out of whatever money I had, and it was like, where am I getting money from?
Yeah.
Like I don't have anything to begin with, so or it's you break it, you're buying it back, or you break it, you pay for it. And I was like, how? I don't have a job. Where am I getting the money from? Yeah, that was one. Name a financial struggle that annoyed you as a kid, but seems funny now.
Financial struggle.
I found it funny that we only bought KFC on Fridays or pizza on Fridays. It was like, why do we have to wait till Friday? Like, there's
Yeah,
6 other
yeah.
days. Why can't it be another day? I hated that. That's one thing that really. Can we get this? Nope, Friday. And I was like, why? Like,
And it's funny you say that because I think I wouldn't say it's a financial struggle. I think I just didn't know how it made sense.
it was never a struggle because there was always money to buy KFC and pizza.
So
KFC, pizza, and Chinese food.
So that's what
always.
I'm saying, and I'm gonna go to Padnadra because my mom ran one. Never understood it. People would just come drop off money, but I'm just like, okay, mom, why are they dropping money? But again, never had that conversation. And the Padnadra, or some people call it susus, or whatever it may be, these are things that we could have used in our community to help drive real estate, help purchase into certain things. But we only use Padnadra.
Yo, Padre was just for Christmas, vacation,
Exactly.
but it was never a family type vacation. It was them packing a barrel vacation. It was like, so where do we come in the equation? Because we were never included. Like,
Yeah.
Padna seemed to be like this big thing, but I was like, I've never seen anything good come out of this. Like,
Exactly. And that's why I'm saying that, because I'm like, yo, if we used Padnadra in other, so if we use it the way that other backgrounds or other people used it, I think it would be much further. It's just because I think that we only use it for vacations, or we used it to do something big, and big as in what, like I said, vacations, or maybe do something else. But to me, it didn't make sense. It
Yeah.
didn't make sense to me, and even today, I know Padnadra is still going on, and yes, I know my mom still runs one. But it's just, again, it doesn't make sense to me. And if you're not trying to further something, why do it?
okay, another financial struggle. I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but I don't know why I have this vivid picture in my head, but when the ketchup bottle is done, you add water to it to get that little bit of it out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Why is it when it gets to like the last 5% of anything, are we saving it? Or adding the water to the dish soap to do the dishes? It's like, why? Just throw it away and get a new one. Like, that's not gonna do anything for you.
I don't think our parents back in the day believed in bulk. Like, I think we never bought more than one. It was always buying the one, and that will last us. And like toothpaste, again, that's something that
Squeezing that to the
squeezing
end.
that, cutting it,
Cut-
and
yep.
and then putting your toothbrush in the toothpaste and squeezing it out, not thinking that anybody else has to use it. So your mouth is going into the toothpaste while someone else, like, it was just, again,
It was so bad.
I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love the era I grew up in, but we just did some weird things that
Yep.
didn't make sense.
All the time. I'm trying. This one absolutely drove me nuts. Anytime you go somewhere like a family outing, whether it was Wildwater Kingdom, Canada's Wonderland, Marineland, they brought sandwiches. I hated.
Bully beef sandwiches at that.
I never ate it. I was like, no, I refused to eat it. I stayed hungry. Oh, can we get? No, I brought sandwich. No, that's not a sandwich. I don't eat that. Why am I eating bully beef sandwiches? I hated that. That's the one thing I never look forward to, and like the church picnics. It's like, why are you bringing these sandwiches for? Like, I want a burger.
Yeah.
I want something that's filling, like something that's good, something that I'm not getting at home. And bully beef, you make that on the stove with some rice. I don't want that in a sandwich. That just.
Honestly, I didn't like it, but I had no choice. I didn't like it at all. But when you're on
I
a
stayed
trip,
away from it.
You had no choice. You couldn't look to buy
No.
a French fries or a hot dog or something. It just wasn't happening.
Another one. Tell me if you guys can relate to this. Driving to Pennsylvania. I hated that. 24 hours on that bus. Oh no, sorry, 24 hours was to Florida. We took a bus. We didn't take a plane. We took a bus all the way to Florida. But Pennsylvania, that bus trip, when I went, I was like, this makes no sense. Why drive so far? There's nothing good over here. I could have stayed back home and bought whatever. I hated that. It's like, take a plane, go wherever. But Pennsylvania was, oh, no taxes. There's no taxes, but the markup of the dollar, the Canadian dollar versus the US dollar. Like, you're still paying whatever you would have paid here. So I hated that one
I
too.
remember taking the bus and meeting at Jane and Finch Mall, the pickup location.
Yep.
You got to get there. Everybody gets on
5,
the
6 in the,
bus.
or 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, that was crazy times, man. Crazy times. But that wraps up this episode. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. And if you want to keep in touch with us, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Checks Over Strikes. And we'll see you on the next episode.